This is FanSpeak, a weekly live show where the fans of comics and its community are our guests. This is FanSpeak, a weekly live show where the fans of comics. Welcome everyone, and we have a great show for you today. We have a lot of good things to talk about, and of course, I am joined by my crew here. We have, of course, our chairman DeWolf. We have the Denali Lama. We also have Tank Ferret with us. We have the mighty wrench of Ethan Van Skyver Thundaro, and we're also joined by a couple of new people today. We have Ignition. Todd, who's an artist, has come on to sit down with us. How you doing today, Todd?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, excellent, man. Always want to have new people on. And, of course, we're also joined by Josh Howard, who is our special guest today. How you doing today, sir?
I am fantastic.
Excellent. All right. Now, we're going to, of course, get to talking to Mr. Hart here real quickly. But first thing we want to do is our normal introductions of stuff we have going on. Now, of course, many of you will know that our art contest was finished on Halloween night, and that was a great show. We had a lot of fun with that, with the raffle, the charity raffle, and, of course, our art contest. And, of course, we had our two winners. We'll go ahead and take a look at them real quick here. Those two winners, of course, were John Dillard with his FanSpeak mascot here. He won the mascot side of it.
Your boy, Georgie.
Yeah, your boy, Georgie. Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, the FanSpeak logo here by Benjamin Hopwood, which is a great-looking thing. And we're going to be taking those and we're going to be working them up and how we're going to use them precisely. And, of course, we'll have to be talking to John Dillard and Benjamin privately about that, and we'll be getting on that very, very soon. So those contests are over, and that was a lot of fun. And we're already in contact with Alterna Comics and Peter Cimeti over there about getting that worked up for the full-page ad that we're going to put to advertise FanSpeak with those art contest winners. So thank you very much for participating, and we'll do more with that in the future. We have other things we do here, so we will be looking forward to doing more of that. Also, keep in mind, we have all our links down below, and go ahead and check those out. We have our FanSpeak Facebook group. Definitely go over there and join us and get involved. Give us your opinions and reviews and any kind of interaction you would like to do. We want the community involved, and that's where we're centering. We're trying to create a hub for that. Also, if you want to be on the show, just go ahead to my Facebook at Chester C. Busby III or my Twitter and say, Chester, put me on the show, and Chester will do so. Also, keep in mind that we have our podcast, and we also have our donations through Steam Lab, which we use for giving out prizes here on the channel. If you're interested in getting involved with that, please do. Now let's come over here, chat real quick, and just say hi. We have Pope Raven, we have Joshua, hello. Of course, we have Benjamin Hopwood is in here. Benjamin Hopwood says, what size image do you need to fill this screen with the new logo? Yes, I'm going to have to talk to you about that. I was having a little bit of trouble with it, but it's okay. We'll get that worked out, and we'll talk to you. We have a new person here I haven't seen before. We have Septanov. I don't know what that means. 7 of 9. Oh, I get that. Hello. And, of course, we have Dave in here as well. Hello, Dave. All right, guys. Well, we are going to get right into the show. And, of course, we start our show with the chairman's address. So, Mr. Chairman, please take it away.
Thank you, Chester, and our illustrious panel, guests, and our YouTube audience. We often don't like to think that we might operate within a bubble. It's usually a bad term, but it happens, and we do. But we want to take this moment to say that our hearts, our prayers, they go out to those people in Philadelphia, to the synagogue, that were victims of the shooting, both those directly impacted and those indirectly. Our heartfelt, prayers go out. And more so as well, we may like to talk about, comics and then we'll diverge. We'll talk about other stories, things that come from those. Like movies that often comes up, and role playing games, and all of these things. And these often still are within just sort of our bubble of things. Lots of Comics Gate, that is definitely our bubble. But there's so much out there in the world today. There's news of this Honduran caravan that's traveling through Mexico, and they're going through just an awful time. The people themselves doing that, unknowing what might happen in their own future, as the rest of us that are here in America don't know what's going to happen with the future when they might get here as well to the country. These broader things in the news, those things about the bombings or the bombings that could be, all of these things impact us. They impact each and every one of us here that is attached to Comicsgate. And as these things impact the individual, because within any individual day, we may have something that affects someone. Right here on the internet, we have Twitter, we've got harassment, we've got things going on, and people are engaged in various different ways. It's always something to be aware of, that there is a bigger, broader world out there that affects each and every one of us. And as it does so, it affects us as a whole. One of these things that is coming up that is right near to us is next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is the elections. It's the midterm elections. Many senators and congressmen are up for elections, and also local politicians and or certain things for that are on the state ballot, things that are questions, things that are going to change the laws. It's part of us to not only be involved in Comicsgate, which we love to be involved in, but also involved in our communities to affect everything that's out there in the world that is that greater bubble that we want to make sure we're out inside, not just our own little bitty one. So be sure next Tuesday to get out there and vote. As we vote with our dollars and vote with where we pay our attention to for here in regard to comics, also vote with your actual vote come next Tuesday. And we will see where this goes in the future, because there's a bright future ahead of us in the whole world and in Comicsgate. But that's just what I'm saying. What are the fans saying? Welcome to FanSpeak.
All right, thank you very much. And yes, it's absolutely not only a wonderful opportunity having the right to vote, but it's certainly, I would say, a responsibility. Thank you very much, Mr. DeWolf. All right, guys. Well, let's get right into it, and we're going to start right out talking to our guest. Now, our guest here is Josh Howard. How are you doing today? And we are very excited to have you on, sir. So tell us about your project here, TBIRD and THROTTLE.
Yeah, sure. So before I get started, can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, we hear you just fine,
Okay.
man.
All right, cool. All right, so TBIRD and THROTTLE is a modern superhero reconstruction story. It's I like to describe it as a cross between The Dark Knight Returns and the Fantastic Four. The story follows Mitchell Maddox, who was an astronaut who crashes on the moon, discovers this strange alien object that is dubbed the Engine. It bonds with him, gives him superpowers, so he goes on to become a superhero named T-Bird. Things are going great until there's a tragedy involving his powers that leaves a couple people dead. So the series picks up 10 years later as he's trying to rebuild his life, trying to return to being a superhero. But he's having a hard time of it because the world has moved on since his heyday. And then there's forces moving behind the scenes in the shadows who are trying to prevent him from coming back. Someone has a grudge against him. So that's sort of where the story begins, and it goes from there.
Oh, excellent. Very nice. And I have to say, just personally, I love the idea behind it, and I love the art. It really is nostalgic for me. I don't know. It's something. It's completely. I'm absolutely 100% in for it, man. And I just kind of curious. Before we get started, now the writing and art, is that all you?
Yeah, everything's me. Writing, art, colors, letters. It's all me.
Oh wow, man, that's a lot of work.
It is.
So now I'm going down here and I'm scrolling in the page and showing our viewers everything here. And please keep in mind, everybody, of course, hit that like button and subscribe and hit the bell as well. Of course, if you would, we appreciate it. But most important thing for you to do actually is go and hit that share button and let everyone know that we are live. But as I go and I scroll down here and I'm looking through this, why don't you guys go ahead and ask some questions about to Josh here about his T-Bird and throttle, man. Why don't you go ahead, Denelli, and kick it off?
Sure. So I see that you have a very professional background working with Image, working with IDW, working with DC Comics. Can you tell us some of your experience about that? Working with those companies?
Sure. So I began with a small publisher called Viper Comics, who was local to where I am. They published my first book, Dead at 17. About a year into that, or actually maybe less, I got contacted by DC, who at the time, this was back in 2004, they were starting a new label, a sub-label called Minx. And they had me pitch a book for that. And so I worked on that for a couple years. And then I continued, I did some more Dead at 17 with Viper. Then Image came calling, and I moved over to Image with Dead at 17. And so off and on in between that, I've done, I did a Ghostbusters book with IDW, and did stuff for Mattel, for Monster High, a couple things like that. And then I finished Dead at 17 in 2015, and then just been kind of writing and prepping T-Bird since then. So those experiences with those professional setting helped you out with kind of defining how you want to lay out the story, because you said that in your campaign that it's been 20 years in the making. So you've been having this idea in a long time. Yeah, I've carried it around for a long time, and over time I've just it's grown and developed as I have, and it was, I guess it was 2015, 2016 where I decided I thought it was finally time to get the story on paper and tell it. I thought it was time, and it was ready to finally come out. And so I started working on it. And last year I did the first campaign for issue 1, which is on Kickstarter, and that was successful, and that came out. And so now I'm, of course, looking to fund issue 2. And of course, if you missed out the first time, you can get issue 1 and the issue 0 prequel issue. Oh, awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And has there been any changes in concept that when you first started about it that's, I guess, changed, or has there still been some elements that's been consistent since you first thought of it? I would say it's been mostly surprisingly consistent. I mean, the heart of the story has remained pretty much the same. The big differences have been like stylistic changes or tone and mood changes. There's been times it's been a little bit more cartoony, times where it took it in a more serious route. But at the heart of it, the story has remained pretty much unchanged. And it's kind of strange how, as time has gone on, it's only become more timely and more relevant.
Yeah. The artwork, it does remind me of a little of that old, I say old, that's kind of funny. That's not, because I guess it was me watching it. Of the Batman series,
right?
A little bit. That was the best Batman series. With Mark Hamill as a Joker. Yeah. It's reminiscent of that, because it's not when I know when I first saw this particular Indiegogo come out. I looked at it and I went, well, hey, this is different. It's not the similar type of regular artwork that I've been used to seeing in comics recently. Well, wait a second. I say recently. Once again, okay, it's not what I was used to from the 90s, which is my original era. And of course, now, this far surpasses some of the stuff that I've seen recently, as far as that goes. But it does generally reminds me of Batman, and which is a cool styling, although it has a little bit more realistic flair still, with some of the way I guess that the hair is done and whatnot.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, that was definitely a big influence. that show premiered when I was, I want to say, 13, 14.
Oh wow.
So that was just, yeah. So that was when I had just decided that I wanted to do comics for a living, and I was like, copying the styles of everyone at the time, trying to find my voice, my style. Like Jim Lee, Liefeld, McFarlane, whoever it was, and then that came along. And I think I just saw the initial designs in Wizard magazine, just the character model sheets or something, and it spoke. I mean, it was like a lightning bolt. It spoke to me. I was like, that's my, that's where I'm going for. That the simple shapes, the angular style that really, you can say a lot with just very basic shapes. That really appealed to me. So that definitely was a huge influence early on.
Right. And but while you are saying that, I'm noticing things like proportion. I'm now, trying to give it more of a critical eye for the moment, and the proportions of things within those basic shapes. Those are well done.
Yeah, they are.
Thank you.
And and Chester, what's the big thing we look for nowadays?
Quality
and
consistency.
Good feet.
So I'm looking
And
at
good
feet now. I gotta warn you. I'm starting to pan through, and I'm looking at feet.
Oh, feet. Oh, goodness. Don't even bring up the feet thing. Stay away from the feet. That's just a running joke over here, Josh.
No, no.
I
We talked about it. I talked about it on Gary's stream the other night, which we want to appreciate artists that draws good feet, because sometimes
we have a foot fetish.
We don't have a foot fetish. We just noticed.
I don't know about you, Denali.
We just want to say it's a good feat.
They are good.
Thank you for taking the time to draw me a good feat.
But I actually want to talk about this pic you see here that's on the screen now. I really like this because if you go through the pages you chose to show in your Indiegogo, and this is something else we talk about over here, is trying to help the best we can about how to set up a good Indiegogo to attract your customers, which we are, right? We're fans. We're not creators. We're just fans. So what do we like? What catches our eye? This is how you set up a page. And the way you selected your panels and your pages to show here, it really tells us what's going on. It gives us an idea of what the story's about. And I love this panel right here because, of course, we can see a tragedy has happened and murderer and homewrecker thing goes on. But I love this picture with the little girl. She's so happy, and the dad's doing the flying thing, which I've done with my kids. And of course, the wife is taking the pictures, and then we have the cracked photo. It's just, I really like the way you set your page up. I just want to compliment you on that because that is something we keep pushing here with a lot of the creators we have. You got to do better. You have to have a page that catches. You're trying to sell, right?
Right.
And this is how you do it. This is a good page, I think. In my opinion, I love it, man. This right here is, and when you chose to put them, you really, it's pretty obvious to me. You took time and thought about what should go where. Unless I'm wrong, maybe you just got lucky. I don't know, but it really works out exactly right, drawing you into, oh, there's a story here. Did you do this intentionally, or was it just randomly thrown up?
Oh no, it's all intentional. I
I
spent
thought so.
weeks working on this thing to make sure it looked right and the right material was up. So thank you.
Yeah, no, it's very good.
And was that something that you learned from the first campaign? Because you mentioned that you did this in Kickstarters. Was that from your experience on Kickstarter? What worked and what didn't work?
Sort of. I mean, I would say I looked at Kickstarter campaigns for probably 2 to 3 years before I ever did one. I was so hesitant to jump in and, take that risk. And I studied a lot of them and just looked at what was like complete turn off and what I thought worked. And I tried to apply all that to my first campaign, and I succeeded. So I thought, well, I guess I did something right. So,
Excellent. Well, we have a few other guests here. So we want to make sure we get them involved as well. So why don't you go ahead, Tank, and why don't you ask some questions here to Mr. Howard? All right. We'll move down to Thundero. How you doing today? You wanna have some questions here for Josh, man?
Hello, Josh. How are we?
good. How are you?
I'm all right. My question is the same question I usually ask, especially the first time I talk to a new artist. This side of the internet, I guess you would call it, that we've all found ourselves in, is unfortunately divided mostly because of a very simple thing. We have a branch of our country, or side of our country, or of the world, really, that is very censorious. They want to censor things. They want to stop other people. They want to stop ideas they don't like from ever even being spoken.
Mhm.
Our side is more, let's just let the best ideas win. Let's let the best books win. Let's let the best people win. We can
Right.
all get along. We don't have to stop anybody from getting a seat at the table. My question to you is, where do you think this is going? In regards to the censorship that's coming from pretty much every major corporation that has any control over communication, where do you think this is going?
I mean, right now I'm kind of a pessimist, so I would say not a good place. But what gives me hope is that people have noticed it and are, speaking up against it and, starting to, fight back. So that gives me some hope. But again, then the other side seems to just ramp up their efforts too. So it's kind of, it's a very contentious time all the way around. So I'm not sure, but it makes me nervous, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. I think we're heading for something really dark if the people who are just insistent that they should be able to control what everybody thinks and says do not stop. There's no other option than violence, and I don't think anybody really wants to see that. But I think that's probably where it's going.
Wow.
Yeah, and I hope not. I hope not. But yeah, it seems like a powder keg right now for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's of course it extends well beyond our slice of things over here with comic books, but it is an overall tone and problem. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I hope it does work out in the end, of course. But mainly, we just want to see good comics on it. I mean, and we got a good one here today. So how's your campaign doing, man?
Well, I've got 3 days left. It ends Monday, and I've got I think about $1,600 left to make. It's been a slow, steady climb. It's been a nail biter at times, but I think I'm going to get there. I think it's coming together.
Now,
So-
are you going to? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So where does this say fixed goal? And so what happens? What happens once you reach the fixed goal? Or I mean, or the time. Let's say, of course, if you make it, we kind of understand what that means. What happens if you fall right under there?
Then nothing happens. I don't get the money, and there's no book.
Oh no, everyone! Hurry.
Yes.
Yes. No, I think you are going to succeed, though. I know that I definitely myself backing. I had gone in October, but then I had to back out. But I'm coming back here in November, so you will have me back on there in probably tomorrow. But I think in the last couple days, especially the last day, you will see this pop up quite a bit. I hope it does. They usually do.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident, especially because this week, I think I've done 3,000 to 4,000 just this week, which was the biggest gain in 1 week so far. So it's definitely seen an uptick. So yeah, I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah.
Usually, what happens is on the last 2 days or whatever, you'll get another really hard surge. So you'll be all right. I think you'll be all right.
And it's payday, Friday.
Yeah, there you
Right.
go. There you go.
Beginning of the month.
Taking a
all this
rain.
stuff.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And let me see here. Now, we got another guest in here, Todd. Todd is a new guest today, and he's a great artist. And now you're sitting here looking at art, Todd, and listening to Josh. You got any questions or comments for him?
Yeah, I do have a couple questions. And Josh, do we know each other?
What's your name?
Todd Mulrooney.
I don't know. Do we know each other?
I think we do. I'm just not sure from where.
Like online or in person?
Your voice is very, very familiar to me.
Okay.
So I'm not really sure. But I want to point out something for everybody. If you look at his style, yes, it's simple and it's reminiscent of animation, but there's some advanced techniques that you're seeing. He's using some focal points, right? He's using some pages that are center focus. Then he's using some aiming techniques to aim you to the next panel by where he places a hand, or like the guy was holding up the girl, and so he's using some advanced techniques here. So everyone, this guy knows what he's doing, and I think this looks like a really cool campaign and a fun book. I have a question for you, because you just talked about this. Why do you think this is the right time? Because you mentioned that.
Well, the story was born out of sort of my frustration with where superhero comics were going, and this was like a long time ago. So like, this has been something that's on a long time coming. We've seen an acceleration of the deterioration of comics in the last couple of years, but I think I saw it begin, in pieces back then, and like I wasn't seeing sort of like the book I wanted to see and the heroes I wanted to see anymore. So that's sort of where the ideas began to develop. What was your question again, specifically? Oh, why was it more relevant today? Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, because you mentioned you felt
right.
like this is the right time.
Right. Okay. So the story is very much about what defines a hero and how do those definitions change with time. The character TBIRD, obviously, when he tries to restart his career in the present day of the story, the world has sort of moved on, of course, and there's a new batch of heroes, and then there's some media. He gets some media attention with some negative press, and it's very much about distortion and lies and trying to bring him down with untruth. And it's just a lot of things that I think have just become more prevalent in the media and politics the last few years. And I think when you read it, you're going to see a lot of, parallels to what's going on in the real world with a lot of different people. And some of it's going to seem like it was written. Came up within the last 2 years, but I guarantee you it's something that's been building for a while, and it's just amazing how much how relevant it's become, and that's why I think it's an important book for now. Whether you want just a return to classic heroes or classic heroism, or you're interested in just a commentary on where things have gone wrong with comics.
So that was kind of interesting that you said, Josh, when you were doing your initial pitch about the book, that this was a reconstruction comic book superhero. And something that we've been talking about is deconstruction. And one of our reviews that we did this past week was the Gospel of
the Coyote Gospel from Grant Morrison.
And we were talking about how this was like, here's the proto SJW, here's the proto deconstruction story that's kind of more prevalent. Do you believe that, or I guess maybe I'm just more confirming that you see that more of these stories that are being pushed out here are deconstructions of the superhero and pushing more of an identity, politics and narrative into it to the detriment of the actual storytelling and the classical storytelling.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, the deconstruction though is really nothing new. As far as it was in the we had Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, things like that. And I think at the time those are important. They had something to say, but when it becomes the standard, when that's all there is, and I think over time comics have lost something. And so TBIRD basically, it starts at a deconstruction point. Like it starts with the hero, destroyed and at his lowest and, cynical. And it's about building that buck up and getting him to a place, like I said, reconstruction, returning him and the story and the themes back to the way they used to be, they should be.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. Yeah.
And that's actually a good, tagline for what we're trying to do, because I know the Wolves mentioned that this is a comic revival, but it's also a comic reconstruction because we're trying to reconstruct those classic stories that's been missing.
Oh yeah,
lately. So that's actually a potent point that we're trying to make. That until now we weren't able to say it. So thank you for saying that. It's a reconstruction of the classical stories that, for whatever reason, the editors and current writers has been dropping the balls in the current modern age of storytelling.
Yeah, well, we know why that is. But we'll come back to that. More questions here in 1 second. Let me come over to the chat and say hello. We have Booster is actually not with us today because he's having a nice event, but he jumped in here and just said hello and hope we're not having too much fun without him. So go back to doing what you're doing, man. Have fun. Sierra Whiskey's in here. Hello, sir. Absolutely nice to see you joining us. Draken is in here as well. He's talking about, let's see, probably don't know, they're making a joke about you and Todd knowing each other. Joshua, of course, is demanding that this is his book, and why is this Josh Howard person taking credit for his book? He's our favorite troll, by the way, Josh.
Okay.
No, it's a joke. He's funny actually. It's totally cool. But we have these popes and they over here and they love their little pope wars and their memes and stuff. All right. All right. Let's come back over here. Now, I have a question for you. If Tank is back, just go ahead and pipe up and let me know if you're back, Tank.
Yes, sir.
You are back. All right. Go ahead. Go ahead and ask your question, Tank, because I have a couple questions too, but you go first.
All right. I really like the feel of this book. I mean, not only does it harken back to like Bruce Timm and like Tom Rash, I really like that stuff. I think you fall into those ranks of guys who can capture that Max Fleischer feel. I love it, but it really harkens back to like Golden Age. It reminds me of the story. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like the old Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers serials, the old black and whites. I love it. This is fun. It's an adventure. It's not bogged down with useless philosophy. It's a fun superhero book, and you get to. I love the characters. They're real. They're 3-dimensional. They're not just like quick bio and a character sketch.
Thank you.
It's really good. It shows you put a lot of good work into it. I think this is hideously underrated. Like seriously, people out there, go share this.
Please.
This has a big market audience. This should be hitting at least 50K.
From your lips to God's ears.
Yes. No, it is a great looking book. And and the cool thing is of course we have a couple of artists here, and I've heard of other artists as well. They really make a lot of comments about the art, the comic book illustrating skill. I've heard from several other people as well, not just these two guys. So it's a really good book. It catches your eye. It jumped out at me immediately. But my question I have is. What are T-Bird's powers? And I see like he got a hole blown through his chest, and then some kind of device got put in it. But what are his powers, man?
Okay, so he's got this alien. Like I said, they dubbed it the Engine. He's got this engine in his chest that saved his life after he was shot by the Moon Men. Basically, the powers aren't clearly defined because they don't know what they are. He's got some flight. He's got some super strength. At times the engine can fire a blast, but it's sort of unpredictable. This thing has a mind of its own, and that's sort of one of the driving points of the story. Is what is this thing, and what is its potential, and where does it come from? So that's
his chest.
So you might even. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
What just came to mind was like the arc reactor, except that it makes the arc reactor look like a Pez dispenser.
Yeah. So this is one of the mysteries of the book. So I don't want to say too much, but figuring out exactly what all that is and what all that means is one of the themes and the mysteries of the story.
Right. I was going to say this. So pretty much, they know a little bit, but basically they're going to learn as the reader does, it sounds like. And that's fun.
Yes, yes. And over the course of
Awesome.
the story, you're getting told his origin in flashback. So each issue is going to give you a little bit more until it all culminates in issue 4, which is the final issue of this big story arc.
Very cool, very cool. So I was looking at the page again, and what I noticed, because I remember seeing this earlier, much earlier, and I thought it looked really good, and then I debated, and then I waited, right? And I think there's different things on the page. Talking about reconstruction, did you reconstruct the look of the Indiegogo page?
What do you mean as far as
I don't
content?
remember there being the issue number 0 as a link.
Issue 0 was always there.
Was it?
Yes. At some point, I added the first 30 pages of issue 1. That was added a couple weeks in, and then a few days ago, I added the sketchbook link. So yeah, those were always there. Or the issue 0 was from there from the beginning.
Okay, so that one was, but the other ones weren't. Maybe that's
right.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe I wasn't inspired to click on issue 0 before, but these other pages that are here, they're new. So I knew there was something new. I looked. I was thinking there's something about the page now that's more dynamic. What about the commission samples? I don't think those were there, right?
Those were not there early on. Those were added, I think, a couple of weeks in. Yeah.
Okay. So all right. Well, now you've caught my eye a lot better, because we will critique at times, and Chester talked about how good the page looks, and I think it looks better now. So good job on that. It definitely lacked something. It lacked some certain wow factor that made me say, I'm going to go ahead and click a different back button, which we know is terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
To click a different back it button than the TBIRD and THROTTLE one would be bad. And I did that before. So this is actually looking a lot different. It has popped out at me, and I'm thinking to myself, I may have to do that rather soon this time around.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. So do we have any other direct questions for Josh here? They must be nobody else?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I got, yeah. What's your plans past this campaign?
Well, so I'll if all goes well, I'll get issue 2 done, and then like I said, there's 2 more issues in this arc. I don't know if I want to put myself through 2 more campaigns, so I'm thinking about combining 3 and 4 into 1 next time around. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. That's sort of what I'm thinking about at the moment.
Okay. All right. Well, I do have a couple other questions for you here myself. Okay. Now, I know you talked about the character, the history of it, powers, and all those kind of things like that. But when did this character? When was it formed in your mind? How long ago was it that this character came to you? You had this idea of doing this particular character, or was it something that came together little by little over time?
No, I can remember almost the exact moment. It was 1999. I was working at a local comic book store, and lots of downtime. So I was always drawing because I was always, creating stuff. And I was sort of as a joke challenge to myself, trying to think of what superhero motif had not been taken yet. Like a spider, a bat, etc. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh well, no one has done. I was looking at I was looking at Optimus Prime. I thought no one's done a car superhero, like a car motif. So I kind of took the general look of Optimus. Like he has the grill in his abs. He's got the windows on his chest. I thought, what if I applied that to a human? I gave him. What if he's got an engine in his chest and he's got, he fashions himself as an old Thunderbird. So I was like, oh, TBIRD, and then it just went from there. It started out as kind of a joke, but the more I would keep drawing him and playing with my sketchbooks, I was like, no, I'm starting to like this guy. There's something here. And before I knew it, I had a whole story built, and it grew organically after that. But yeah,
All
it was
right.
I
one of
like
those.
it.
Yeah,
I like it a
Local to
lot.
where? What comic book store?
Lone Star Comics.
Lone Star
Yeah.
Comics. We've seen that actually.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, no, because Mike Miller's doing Lone Star, and someone went and dug out Lone Star Comics because it matched. So I've actually
right.
seen that comic book store. By the way, Paul Hassett here says that I just threw my $35 in for T-Bird. Well, thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
No, I didn't. It is a great project, and of course, Tank is completely correct. I just think it's a matter of exposure. 'Cause the page is really, really good, and of course, that's why you're making this kind of money, whereas other people's page isn't good and it's not getting it. Have you had an opportunity to get on any of the? What channels have you been able to get on and talk about this with?
I reached out to almost everybody, and no one really responded. So I haven't had much luck with that. I was on with Edwin and Tug once, and that's pretty much been of the big shows. That's the only one I've been on. So
Well,
just
we can try to see if we can help you out with that a little bit. I'll talk to you about that after. But yeah, unfortunately right now where the community is sitting, this community in particular, is sitting, because if we just take that aside and we look at your project just as a normal Indiegogo comic book, it's actually incredibly successful because they usually don't make much money. I mean, so it's actually doing really well. But as far
yeah.
as this community project, it's getting up toward the middle size, right? And unfortunately, where this community is sitting right now, we're really relying heavily on people like Ethan and Mike and Mitch when he does his streams, and Edwin and other people like that. So it's unfortunate. We here at FanSpeak are doing our best to try to improve that and offer opportunities. And one of the main ways we do that is through Indicron, which you were listed on. And
Mhm.
Pixel Traders Indicron is very, very helpful for that. So we're trying our best to push that along and get those things happening. But as it sits right now, that's not in place. That structure isn't in place yet. So getting onto these
Mhm.
bigger channels is kind of necessary, unfortunately. Not no disrespect to them. We love them, but that's also a huge responsibility for them, right? But we'll talk to us later. We'll see about might be able to getting you on somewhere else here in the next couple of days. But unless you have
I
your own
agree with
plans,
that.
yeah. Hey, go ahead.
I agree with what you're saying as far as there being tiers, and for you to get past this tier, it needs to, you need to sort of get on either one of 4 or 5 shows, and
Hmm.
and hopefully, getting you on there before the end of this campaign is something Chester can help you do. But it's sort of the base of fans. There are plenty of those fans that would gladly be fans of yours if they can see this campaign, if they can see your work, and sort of get to know you a little bit. And that's sort of what this is all about: is us getting to know you, and hopefully, like you're saying, he can help out, because I like this. You know what I mean? I like your book. I like your style. And I think your idea as far as the story goes is excellent. So it's just a matter of hopefully it can happen to help you out with this campaign.
Well, I appreciate it. I just look. I if I wanted to get rich, I would have taken a different occupation a long time ago. So like, I'm not. Look, I just want to be funded. I just want to be able to make my book and keep going. So like, I'm not, like I said, I'm not looking to make. It would be nice to make all those that some of those campaigns are doing, but if I can just make my goal, I'll be happy. So that's where I'm focused at right now.
Oh no, and I feel very confident you will. And of course, we have an Edwin in here, Edwin Boyette, who you said you already sat down with, and Edwin really
Yeah.
loves your book, as you're getting a lot of positive feedback in the chat for the book because it looks so great. And I've been sat on this screen here for a while, because I just love these panels, man. It's a very interesting thing when a lot of times in a comic book when the hero's origin comes around, they get their powers or however it comes about, they often kind of jump past they go through the ordeal of the origin, and then they jump into the action. I love how you took a moment to sit down and the guy's looking in the mirror and he's contemplating, what has happened to me. And then his little kid is coming in here and daddy, 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 the princess superhero thing. I love you took time to do that. It's these little touches that really draws me to this book a lot.
Thank you, and I think that stuff's important too. I mean, I think it's sort of what the story is about. About, as you'll read in the kind of the narration there at the beginning. It's sort of what happens. Everyone knows all the superhero origins. That's why we tell them over and over again. That's the one constant, right? Because of all the endless reboots and reimaginings, like there's no let's say midpoint or final story for superheroes. They're going to be going on forever, ideally. So it's the idea of what would that look like, if there was a beginning, middle, and end to a hero. That's sort of the theme, I guess.
No, I like it. And over here in the chat, I am getting yelled at by Pixel Trader for being a boomer, and my notifications are pinging. I know I need to fix that, and I am a boomer. I accept it. I am the essence of the boomer, Pixel. Thank you.
Well, on the positive, it is upticking, so you're at 13,535. So thank you guys who are in the chat and have pledged.
Yeah. JP4 so just went with $35 on it too. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.
So
it is cool.
I noticed that there's some themes here, and matter of fact, Chester, just to jump right where you were at here, this is very introspective of a character, and I don't think you see this type of thing shown, in comics today. I don't know if I remember it too much in the 90s. Occasionally there would be some. My favorite character, he actually carries a lot of self-doubt with him occasionally, and that's what I kind of like seeing here. Once again, that introspection, a little bit of where I'm at, I'm older and stuff. But the other thing that smacked me right in the face was the other theme that's going on here, and that's the Homewrecker concept. And we've seen that in other comics, but I don't know. It's the way the art style is done. It's that there's something going on, like the crack in the mirror. That's a subtlety. You understand it as an audience without it having to be just thrown directly at you. Why would you decide? At what point did you decide to take TBIRD? And you had this great character. You had the cool engine, and yeah, like the car motif is interesting. I can see that in the belt. But at what point did you say, hey, in his personal life, I'm going to throw in this tragedy?
Well, if you want me to be completely honest, about a year or two after I created the character, I went through a divorce.
Oh.
And that was not something that I expected or wanted. And I had a young son at the time. And so going through that at such a young age, I was 23. It really had a big impact on me. And so I poured it all into this story. And as over the years, as I've grown, the character has. And it's informed a lot of things that have happened to me have informed decisions I've made about the character. And as I've gotten older, I've matched the age that I originally set him at. So I've gone through a lot of things that have informed, I guess you could say, the character and the story. A lot of my ups and downs, they're not one for one, but they sort of mirror the general feeling.
Right.
Yeah, so that's in a nutshell.
Wow, goodness gracious. Okay,
yeah.
Well, sorry to hear that, dude. But
no, it's all good now. I'm remarried. I'm very happy. Everything's great. So.
Well, they say you write what you know. Yeah. And
So.
Now I'm looking at the Homewrecker here as we speak, and
yes.
now she's pretty sexy, man.
She is.
Yes. So, is this just a thing for that character, which is of the past? I'm assuming, or is this book has a lot of flashbacks, or are we moving past 0 and 1, and this new book is simply him sitting here with his daughter? Because I mean, if we go up here, I'm making assumptions, and if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. We don't want you to have to give out spoilers, but I'm kind of assuming that this is his daughter over here, and she's grown
Mhm.
up, and she
Right.
is the new Throttle.
That seems to be the case. I'm trying to don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, something
Okay.
along those lines. Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
I shouldn't have asked.
Yes.
But that
That's
was what
okay.
yeah. Well, you laid it out perfectly for us to get that feel and see it. That's why we were talking about your Indiegogo page is really
Right.
well done. So yeah, I like it, man. And we're getting a lot of comments over here, and Paul Hassett is, me and my boomerness. Pixel will straighten me out, trust that. But Paul has said that boomers are our parents and theirs. My grandmother actually hit reverse on her DVD player because she thought she had to rewind it. My mother. I'm
That's
not
awesome.
that bad, Paul. And I'm not a grandma either. But anyway, all right. So let's go ahead here. We're getting up to the top of the hour, and we want to finish up and ask any other questions that we'd like to ask of Paul. So let's go over to Mr. Thundaro. Do you have any final questions or comments here for Josh?
Not well, sort of a question. So basically, you said that he's kind of based off of an idea of turning Optimus Prime into a person, basically.
In a way.
The design of Optimus Prime, anyway.
Yeah. Right.
And then you went with a T-Bird because I would assume just because of the T shape. Are you going to incorporate any more like car-themed stuff into him or into like his character or his like costume or his outfit or how far is that going to go? Is it just a baseline like front end comparison or whatever you want to call it, or does it go deeper than that?
Okay, so in issue 2, you will find out why, how he got the name and why he chose that. And then in issue 0, which takes place 10 years before the series, it's like sort of like showing him and Throttle in their heyday. You see that the engine has the ability to extend like what look like exhaust pipes out the back, allow him to fly. So it's kind of like that's another car motif. And then his headquarters, his sort of his version of the Batcave is called the Garage. It looks like a kind of an auto body shop where he hangs out and does all his business. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
The main reason I was asking that and bringing that up is because the car that he's based off of is one of the most beautiful classic cars ever created.
Oh yeah.
So if you could incorporate some of that in some way, or if you have any plans to, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I'll definitely look at that.
Yeah, no, T-Bird's a great car.
Yeah.
Adrian here does have a question for you, Josh. He says, and of course, if you guys have questions directly for Josh, please ask them now. Adrian says that he wants to know if do you own Wolf and Batsy, and will they ever make a comeback?
I do not own Wolf and Batsy because that is my friend Brian Ball's book. I just did a few covers for him, but it is still ongoing. I mean, he just released a new volume just earlier this last year, and he still has plans to do more. So yeah, go check it out. Brian Ball I think his website is called cryptlogic.net, I believe. But yeah, he's an amazing artist and big fan of his work.
So cryptlogic.net. Denali, could you try to dig that out, please? All right. So all right then. Also, Edwin's is still in here, and if he's still in here, Edwin, maybe you can help us out on our side and try to get Josh here in the next couple of days, sitting with some of these bigger channels, because I think they would appreciate what he's doing here, and he's certainly a professional. So if you could help us out with that, Edwin, that would be really cool. And basically a lot of comments about my boomerness. And that I'm a grandma. Thank you, Joshua. He wants. Here we go. Adrian has another question for you. He says, if these characters are in a world with other characters he created in the past books, or is this a separate world? What he wants to know, is this part of some cosmology, or is this a completely separate thing that doesn't really extend beyond itself?
No, the previous 3 books I did, which were Dead at 17, Lost Books of Eve, and Black Harvest, are their own universe. This is a brand new universe, so this is fresh start.
Okay, cool, cool. Now, Todd is sitting here putting points and stuff into the chat, which is really cool, Todd. But why don't you just go ahead and ask them directly to Josh?
Yeah, Josh, there's an artist you remind me of. He works with the guy that just went from Marvel to DC, but he did Powers, and he does this other book with mice. Oh, I forget his name.
Yeah, you're talking about Michael Omig?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Michael Avon Oming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your art reminds me a lot of his. And the other thing I really like about you, because this is what I try to do. I'm sort of a do-all. I learned all these things to make myself more monetized, but I also learned them because I wanted to, like, one of my goals was to do it all myself one day. And I really like that about you because, granted, there's a great community of people who are willing to help out, but I want to offer something to you. If you ever want, if you like my style and you want a cover, or you want a pinup, or you want something that you can give away as a print, just contact me because I'd be willing to help out with the next campaign anytime.
Okay, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yep.
Excellent. Paul Hassett has a question for you here. I guess. He says, Josh, if he's Prime, meaning Optimus Prime, in a human body, should I read him in Peter Cullen's voice?
Can't do any worse, can you?
No, no.
No.
That is cool. All right, dude. Now, what I'm doing here, if you guys have any other questions or stuff, just go ahead and chime in, yeah. But I'm going to finish up here by going through the perks that you have available here, Josh. So you have yeah, go ahead, DeWolf.
Yeah, one quick one. We mentioned some of the other things you've worked on, but you have worked on Wizard, is that right?
Wizard magazine you're talking about?
Yeah.
I was featured in the magazine for several times, and I wrote some articles online for them sometime after that, but I didn't actually work for them. No.
Oh, okay, right. Just a few columns and things. Okay, yeah, I really enjoyed that. Back there. Well, back when I was reading those, I think once again back in the '90s, which is another good segue for. Back then, I lived where Alliance Airport is, but when it wasn't there, so I grew up in that same area that Lone Star Comics is at.
Oh, really?
That's interesting. In Texas?
Yeah, in Texas. Yeah, just north of Fort Worth is where I grew up.
Okay, cool. All right.
No, that is cool. I didn't know you. Actually, no, I do know you spent some time there. Yeah, I've never actually been to Texas. It's one of the few states I've never been to.
Oh, wow. Where are you from?
I'm from Rhode Island originally, but I haven't lived in the States in 23 years. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Texas is a great country. Yeah. Our state.
Yeah. Well, it is its own country in a way, isn't it? Okay.
Right. Where else have you been, Josh?
What's that?
Where else have you been in the United States? Where else have you gone and traveled or stayed?
I've traveled all over. I haven't been to every state, but I've been to quite a few.
Okay, we'll have to figure it out later.
All right.
It's bugging him. It's bugging him. Todd knows he knows you, but he can't figure out why. So he's trying to ask the right question. That's fine.
Okay.
I know. I even saw your picture, and I know you.
Okay. Well, you're both pros in the industry, so it's definitely possible, right? Tank, I haven't heard from you in a while, man. You got something to say before I start going through these perks, man? Okay. All right, so let's take a look at these perks, Josh. Now, you have your featured one, and you've chosen this $35 one, which I think is a good price range. And tell us a little bit about what's going on with this perk.
With this perk, you get issue 0, which is the 16-page prequel. You get issue 1, which is a 60-page book, which is obviously already completed. And you get issue 2, which is going to be another 60 pages.
Wow.
So altogether, you're getting 136 pages of content.
Okay, now I have to say
Yeah.
something on that right there. And I'm sure the guys agree with me. This has been an ongoing conversation about the price ranges and the amount of
Mhm.
content. Because we see
Right.
for similar price points, we see some books that are 45 pages, we see some that are 60 or 80, we see some that are in the hundreds, in the above 100, excuse me. But that's a great value. Now, how is that going to hit you on the back end, though, as far as printing?
It's not a problem, and I think it's because I'm not going overseas. I'm not doing thousands of books in a print run.
Mhm.
So I have a printer that I use that just prints, what I need. So like I'm not having to do like spend a lot of extra. Now it hurts me in a way because I don't have a lot of extra copies. I may have to reprint each time I do a campaign, but I like keeping my costs down.
Sure.
And so that's why I choose to do it the way I do.
Well, there are places you can get like 10, 20, 50 copies. It's not the cheapest way, but just to get copies for yourself, there's plenty of internet places to do that. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, as far as a side thing, but yeah, no, I appreciate it, and I know a lot of us appreciate when we see a larger amount of content for the price value. But this has been an ongoing conversation about where's that sweet spot, but
Well,
yeah.
yeah, and I really believe in the story. Like I believe strongly in T-Bird and Throttle. I mean, that's why I put so much of it up for free, and that's why I try to keep the price as low as I can because I want people to read it. I wanted to get it in people's hands. So that's the most important to me.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to reading it myself, man.
That scroll down to see the sweet spot,
Okay.
and you find that right there, $15 for a T-Bird and Throttle #2, which is this campaign.
60
Except there's
pages,
also a #1 available. That's cool, but yeah, it's kind of not that cool because I don't really know them yet. But scrolling back up again,
Mhm.
you get back to the $35 whole bundle, and as a fan, I think that's a great idea. If you've already put out a comic and it's been on Kickstarter and I don't know about it yet, then I need to know about it. If I think it's great to back a #2, yeah, give me the #1. Bundle them together. Give me a discount. That is such a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
we got a couple questions here before we move down to some of these other perks. They're kind of big questions, so let me try to ask the simpler question. Now, you had done a Kickstarter before, and then you came over to Indiegogo. Uh,
Mhm.
why did you choose to come to Indiegogo?
Well, I knew there was a whole movement towards Indiegogo, and I thought the audience who was going over there, I figured would appreciate this story. I wanted to get it in the hands of people who feel the same way I do about the state of comics, and I really wanted to reach those people, so that's why I did it. I believe in the ideals of the movement in general, and that's why I did. That's why I
Awesome.
did it.
Okay, and it's a smart move. So glad you came over, man, because we might have missed it, right? Because we don't pay much attention to the comics that come on in Kickstarter. To be honest with you, Kickstarter, most of the money they make over there is coming out of board games and stuff like that. So we don't. I
Right.
never really pay much attention to the comics over there. But okay, next question. And this was a big one though. So you take as much time as you'd like, or don't. Adrian says, "Is there a supervillain in his book?"
There is most definitely a supervillain, and you'll get hints of that in the first issue. And he's someone who's working in the shadows, and I don't want to say too much because it's a big driving point of the story, and just gonna have to wait and see what that's all about. But there's a main supervillain, and then there's others, smaller villains who play a role too. So it's a big story. So just stay tuned, and it'll all be revealed.
Sweet. All right, man.
Awesome.
Let's go ahead and look at these
And
perks. Go ahead, Janelle.
and just to let you know, just a little update. You're at $13,615 now.
Oh my
So
God!
thank you guys.
Oh yes, thank you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thanks, guys. Definitely go out and get back this book if you haven't. Now, looking at these other perks, we have the, as DeWolf had said, we have the $15 here for the Throttle 2, TBIRD and Throttle 2, $15 for the first one, and then TBIRD and Throttle digital set as well, which has this one, I'm assuming, has everything, but it's digital. Now, how are you doing with international sales? Because I would be an international one.
It's charged a little bit more for shipping, but I've got a ton of international. I mean, most of my customers, even before I was doing campaigns, about a third to one half of my customers and fans are international. So something I have some experience with.
And we have another
But
perk here for $30. So that's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
This one here just says book 1 and 2 in it, which I think the $35 one is better. Now, how big is the zero? Those two are 60. So
It's 16 pages.
I see. So it's like an ash can. Okay. All right. And now we have we're coming down here, and you have now this is a bigger one. You have a $60 pack here. Oh, it's it's just doubling it up. Oh, here we go. Now we have the $100 all books plus bust commission. Now, what is this bust commission you're doing here?
You can see a sample farther down on the page.
Okay.
Yes, I'm doing them the size of basically a comic book backing board, and you'll get fully inked bust size commission character of your choice.
These right here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, those are great. And any character of your choice, even something that's made up.
That's right.
Oh, sweet. That is very cool. I love when the artists do like that. And that's a really good price point, $100. That's not bad.
Great
You get
idea.
all the books too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right.
You get all the books too. I mean, yeah, that's a great price point.
I mean, well, he could have done $100 just for that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
And those are
It's a great
physical
idea,
copies,
though.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead, guys. You chime in if you want. I'm just going through the perks here. If you have something to say.
I've noticed. I went and checked out a few Kickstarters since all this has started to see kind of what's going on in the kind of broader range of things, and I noticed that many of the Kickstarters are more at like a $15 level. And then once you said that you've been there before, I said, "Aha! You're bringing that concept over from those campaigns, right?"
Right.
And then but you can expand them, because I hear that Indiegogo actually has some better offers to creators on how they present material.
Yeah, I mean, there's pluses and minuses of both platforms for sure. One thing about Kickstarter too is that it seems a lot of people are more into the art and the bigger tiers.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I did the Kickstarter, all of those went immediately. So I raised a lot more money quicker at Kickstarter. With Indiegogo, I found it not to be the case. People aren't as interested in the original art perks. I mean, they've slowly picked up, but there's a lot of them are still sitting there. And those were the first to go over at Kickstarter.
Oh.
Well, that's awesome. And Pixel is going off on the chat saying, Josh, $150 for an original page? Collectors should get on that. I'm surprised nobody's been jumping.
Yeah.
There's like 10 slots open.
I don't even think I agree with that, dude. I think you've gone way too cheap with that. You could have bumped that up.
Way too cheap.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
go ahead.
You are buying them sight unseen, so I'm trying to give build some confidence that that, and I limited it to I think 15.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was to make sure that you're getting a really good page, and not just like talking heads or something.
Yeah, no, I mean, but hey, cool, good on you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is definitely a great looking cast, by the way, of different, the different people or the different villains and different heroes. It's a great looking cast. I really, I wish we had time to get this book to its goal while we're on live, because that would be awesome.
Yeah, no, so would I. Unfortunately, you know, we just need more numbers to be able to do that. But hey, anybody in the chat, you want to go, if you're planning on backing it, go back in now, please. I know a lot of you
Yeah.
guys like to wait till the last minute because it's cool, but let's try to take that stress away from Josh a little bit. But looking at that cast, yeah, look, you know what this jumped out at me, and I'm sure you did it on purpose. I don't know exactly how old you are, Josh, but as you've heard, I am a grandma, so. Um, but you know, this reminds me a lot of is Grandizer. You ever watch that?
I have not watched it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, dude. Especially this dude in the purple with the skull and the horns on his head. Man, I love that lineup. That is so cool. But anyway, I'm gonna go back into that. We got to stick on these perks. All right, $400 for typical Bristol board size. It looks like. What is this one you're doing here? What is this?
This is a full-size marker colored commission, and you up to 2 characters of your choice.
Wow.
So this is a full-blown piece.
So therefore, I could get like Cecil and Ethan together eating buttered pie.
If that's what you want.
Sweet.
Get Starfire and Quasar in the same page.
I like that better.
Oh yeah, you could do that as well. That would be better.
Yeah.
Hello, Vailden. How you doing? All right, that's cool. Once again, there's one of those have been claimed. There's another one to be claimed. So if you guys want something really cool like that from this great art style that's going on here, and I'm assuming you probably do other art styles as well. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we got a $500 one. What is this one here?
Oh, this is the original cover art for issue 2. The original 11x17 Bristol board artwork.
Oh, sweet, man. And Adrian says, Grandizer, dang, dude. I knew we could get along. Yeah, right, we get along, man. And we got to get you on the show here, Adrian, man. By the way. Greetings and salutations yourself, Eldon. All right. And here we come into it. Now you have one that's sold out, and that's great. But let's look at the last one that's still available. And this is the big one, $800. And you've discounted this down 20% from $1,000. And tell us about this big one here.
So with this, it's a one-of-a-kind cover edition. And what happens is you will get your own one-of-a-kind printing of issue 1 with a cover of your choice. So basically, you act as the art director. Like if you want TBIRD in a certain situation, or you want a completely different character, your own character, whatever you want, I will draw that cover. I will print it up for you and send you the original art and your one-of-a-kind book.
Wow.
Well, I talk about community, right? And we discuss that all the time. Hey, this is a great community and everything. And at some point, I said, but the creators have to get involved in the community. When the creators get even more so, matter of fact, Gary Shipman, he's been doing, live stream giveaways. And so if you're a fan of his and you're going to the live streams, you can get involved, or you're a backer, then he'll do those. And he's just throwing out flowers and candy, to the fans, basically. Trick or treat, Gary, boom. And he's handing out ways, one at a time. Not everybody is not getting one. He's not exactly Oprah, but he still is giving out some things to his fans, and that's exactly what this is like. You're actually connecting with the community, and you're saying, "I'm going to give you more," and that's cool.
Well, I did this perk on the Kickstarter before, and it went almost right away. And the person who got it had me draw him and his grandkids like fighting robots on the moon. So I mean, it was just, it was just a vanity thing, and that was cool. That's what he wanted, so that's what I did.
To be involved with a fan like that at that personal level, and get the book and get that like that, yeah, that's a cool deal.
Yeah, let me add something here, because as far as our community goes, this is what it's really about. We cannot just offer people a book. We have, that's why Ethan is stressing, get going on YouTube, get going here, get going there, because what we're trying to do is give you an experience, break the veil of what, creator and an audience or fan. And now what you start to do is build fans for life, because just giving somebody a book, you might get into a point where, this book, I don't like this villain or I like that. So you start to lose it. But if you create a fan, you keep them, you keep engaging in them and start to get a feel for what they're looking for out of your book. The next thing you know, they're wearing your hat, your shirt, being more involved in your campaigns, helping you spread the word. And that's what we're really trying to do. That's what he's really trying to emphasize.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what the bigger companies has before, not currently, had successfully done. They gave us an experience. If we really think about it, we are more tied to the emotion of that experience than we are to the property itself. And if the experience is positive, we want to keep getting more of that experience because we like good things. We like that good feeling. So yeah, Josh, you're giving that experience, with those drawings, with those vanity drawings. So don't discount it, even if it's a vanity piece, because now you have that grandpa and those kids that will always remember, hey, you got that experience about grandpa and his grandkids fighting the moons against robots.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now we're going to keep Josh on here, and of course, we're going to keep talking about this as we go. And like I said, if you guys can back it while you're here, please do. We'd love to see this raise some more, but we're going to go ahead and transition over here a little bit. We're going to start talking about some of the news we have to go on today. So, Josh, feel free to get involved and give us your comments on this as well. And someone had a comment before I do that. Go ahead.
Yeah. First off, hit refresh on the Indiegogo. Let's see what's going to go on. And second off, I really have to ask this. I think the Titans are really popular, right? Who would you say would be like the best Titan?
You're talking to me?
Yes.
Or Titan?
I'm asking for a friend.
Yes, we have a Pope Fire who always has the same question, and she's a bit preoccupied today. And she asked the same question: "Who is your favorite Titan?" And of course, if Starfire is not the answer, she'll be very upset with you. Just say Starfire.
Starfire.
It's a safe answer. There you go. All right.
Yeah. See, look there, and see Josh. He knows the answer to Starfire. That's great. So, yeah, we'll let Starfire. We'll let Starfire know about that.
Cool. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and run the intro for the comics news today. So here we go. All right. Now, of course, we're going to switch over here. We're going to start talking about some of the news that is going on. And let me go over here and jump over to that. And tell me, guys, we have this first little story here, which is very interesting. I think it's from Superhero Hype. And it is Kevin Feige discusses Marvel's upcoming Disney streaming shows. So, Denali, why don't you go ahead and introduce this news to us, and let's have a talk about it.
Yeah, so Superhero Hype is actually summarizing a roundtable that the Hollywood Reporter conducted with Kevin Feige and some other executive. And Kevin Feige was talking about the miniseries Loki and Scarlet Witch and and the Winter Soldier and Falcon miniseries that will be upcoming to the Disney streams, and talking about how Bob Iger is, having him try to incorporate as well the X-Men series once the merger with 20th Century Fox is complete.
Now,
and try to get.
Is that a new animated one or a live action, Denali?
With Kevin Feige, I believe is in live action.
Wow.
So we don't know. So we don't know what that's going to mean to like some favorites like Legion or Gifted TV series. I know that with the old movies, it'll probably be wiped away from canon, so to speak, to incorporate them into this Marvel universe. And I guess they'll probably try to introduce some of those stories into the Disney streaming to kind of build the Disney streaming as a platform for the premiere stuff. Like if you want more Marvel or you want, more stories that isn't told in the big stream, come over here, to get that content.
Oh, okay. So we know Disney's been building this up for quite a while. Their streaming shows, and I think it's certainly going to affect Netflix. And it's probably we had talked about that's probably why one of the reasons behind Luke Cage and Iron Fist and the other stuff kind of being drummed down over on taken down over on Netflix because we speculated that they're going to put it on the Disney streaming show. But what do you guys think about the whole concept of them, of course, now that Disney owns Fox and therefore owns the X-Men, of doing their own X-Men stuff and, totally recreating the canon, the movie and TV canon. What do you guys think about that? Is that exciting, or are we wary about Disney? Although I always say trust in Kevin Feige. But anyone have any opinions on that?
Hard pass.
Hard pass. All right. Tandaro has spoken from the mountain. All right. Anybody else? How about you, Josh? How about you, Josh? What do you think about it?
I have no opinion. This may get me lynched, but I have not seen any of the Marvel movies or TV shows.
Oh, goodness gracious!
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I have to say, with under Kevin Feige, the movies have been at least passable popcorn movies at the worst, and at the best, they have been fun. And I'm fine with that personally. What do you got? The rest of you guys think about the the new TV shows streamings with X-Men and other possible stuff? What do you guys think about that?
As long as they are superhero shows, because one thing that some of the other shows weren't, yeah, they had superhero moments, but none of these people had stakes of being a superhero. They had more of a, this is my neighborhood, let me protect it from these criminals kind of stakes. And that's not really the area where X-Men fit or some of these bigger heroes fit. So I wasn't a big fan of, I like Daredevil, but Iron Fist was really, it was okay, but they really didn't do what I liked with it. But Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and all those other ones, they could it's not even superheroes. They're flawed and their stakes are so small. That's just my opinion.
Oh yeah. That Jessica Jones, I think where they started was good. I like that. I like the flawed, the area that she was in, what she had gone through, the mental story that was built up there was painful nearly to go through in a good way because of what had happened to her. But at the same time, you are correct. Now that you say that, because it didn't become where she became heroic, and I would have liked to have seen that. You're definitely right, especially in season 2. Season 2, it really just went over into a ditch.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, the Daredevil show is really good. The rest of the stuff is so-so. But of course, now, Josh, you did pick up some flack for not watching any of those from the chat over here. But Adrian steps up to defend you. He says Josh has been too busy making his own properties. There you go. Giving you some support, man.
It's real hard for me to get excited about anything coming out of Marvel. I mean, the movies, I know that I can take my kids and we'll have a good time and they'll be fun. And that's good. That's a product. But the rest of it is it's hit or miss. Most of the Netflix stuff came out of the gate real strong. Really, only Daredevil's been carrying through strong. Everything else is kind of just watered down and washed out as time went by. And yeah, I won't spoil any Iron Fist, but come on, guys. Really? Really?
Yeah, I know, it was really bad. Vailnid says that David Tennant was great in Jessica Jones. Yes, he was. As Purple Man, he did a really good job.
Tennant is always great. David Tennant's amazing.
I think that's what only made that first season of Jessica Jones bearable.
It's the only reason I watched it.
My feeling about it, it's less competition. And when you have less competition, you become more complacent about, working harder to make those good storylines because competition breeds excellence. And if you don't have competition, then you're okay being good or fine, you know. But I know you keep saying that Kevin Feige is going to, managing, but remember, he's taking basically all the stories that Marvel has done and kind of giving them a twist. He's going to get to the point where he's going to come to the current Marvel stuff.
Yes.
And what is he going? And what is he going to do with that?
Denali. Positive thinking. We will will it into existence, Denali. We don't want to talk about that. That's just depressing. But of course, you're right.
There's something Denali said there, and that was Kevin Feige. Because what we don't have with the Netflix series is Kevin Feige, and the Marvel movies. Say what you will about them, at times they are really good where they have their motifs, right? Doctor Strange had this motif of time. It was throughout there, not just with the Time Stone. Guardians of the Galaxy had this adoptive family that struggles but still comes together, right? And they have their all their idiosyncrasies, but they managed to still keep it together. Comicsgate.
Which is kind of interesting that you're saying, Todd, is that the really good films have strong motif that they, it goes throughout, and the not so well movies, to say politely, don't have that strong motif. Like Thor, while the first two movies were okay and the second one was passable, the third one was good because they were able to find that motif for Thor. That clicked. Likewise with the Hulk. Alone, because the Edward Norton movie it's part of the MCU that most people kind of forget about. He didn't really click until Avengers, and we didn't really get to know the Hulk as a Hulk until Thor ran around.
Yeah. But with Netflix, you don't see that as much. Now, Daredevil has the motif of the religion behind there and the inner man struggling with himself. But then you continue to see that they try to use almost the same thing. Luke Cage, he doesn't want to be a hero, and other people are trying to make him a hero. Jessica Jones wants to be a sad case, while other people think she wants to be a hero. So that goes on for too long. And they needed their own original motifs to go along with them. And, that's what Kevin Feige is giving us with the Marvel movies. Hopefully with him behind maybe the streaming shows, giving a little direction to the writers and creators there, that those will be much better. So I'm looking forward to that. Once again, positive, right, Chester?
Yes, positive thinking.
Let me positivity.
Yeah.
Where Daredevil went short is his ninjas were all in suits. They didn't have to be in suits. That was a huge mistake.
It was a huge mistake, yeah. Over here in the chat, Zack Schneider has joined us. I have to say, Mr. Schneider, that we don't care for your movies very much, but, keep trying hard. But of course, our Zack Schneider here is a competing troll. He's trying to compete against Joshua to take Joshua's position as our #1 favorite troll. And he is making good efforts. Although I'm not quite sure if he's succeeding. But he does have a comment here that is kind of interesting. He says that none of the Marvel shows are as good as anything on the CW. I'm sorry, what?
Well, the older...
Disney
so
is
dark.
Or not Disney, but DC is doing a half decent job with their superheroes. I mean, Supergirl, the only people I hear complaining mostly about it are guys, and I'm like, well, yeah, you're not their target demographic, man. That's superheroes for Lifetime. Just wait till Valerie Bertinelli shows up with a black eye. It's going to be a great episode.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. But no, I mean, I don't like those CW ones at all. I watched the first season of Flash and it was okay, but they're just completely into the progressive politics and they're going deep off the end, and that's cool. If people are enjoying that, and if it's obviously not targeted at me, that's awesome. If you're having fun, good for you. But let's move on to our next story here. This is just a little teeny one here. Toys R Us returns as Joffrey's Toy Box inside Kroger stores. Well, Denali, what's going on here, man?
So, Robert Clark, which is Kroger's senior vice president of merchandising, decided to license the brand of Joffrey Toys Box to nearly 600 Kroger stores and their smaller stores across. So that does mean Fred Meyer's and some of the other ones that they owned, to get a exclusivity. It's like, hey guys, remember Toys R Us? Well, we got Joffrey Toys Box, so if you want that experience for the holidays, come into our stores, because this is the only way we're going to get some of the exclusive Toys R Us toys and lines that they used to have, kind of deal.
Yeah, but which ones are they talking about? Because it's kind of some of those exclusive lines that actually killed Toys R Us, as Ethan Van Sciver had showed us with his Rose Tico purchasing and Window Shield gifting.
Well, it sets up for selections. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be any good ones at this moment. But right now they're just trying to hype it up, that say, hey, we got Toys R Us back, at some capacity. And trying to get those people who are, fond of Toys R Us and to come into the grocery store, buy some food, get some kids to check it out, get that experience, that jolt of nostalgia back into your life, kind of deal.
Sure, yeah.
And that's really what.
Yeah. No,
this was tried before.
It was tried before.
Yeah, locally at some Stop and Shops here in New England area.
Really? Okay. Stop and Shop.
Yeah.
Wow, I haven't seen one of those in years, man. Nostalgia. Yeah, no, I mean, it's really unfortunate what happened to Toys R Us. There are some companies that I've heard that are trying to buy it up and relaunch it. So there is effort to save Toys R Us going on, and this is just one of them. I don't, like you said, I don't know if it's going to succeed or not, but it's just a little thing to keep an eye on. It's not really that big a story. Before I move on, does anyone want to make a comment on this?
Yeah, just to talk about Toys R Us itself, it is a brand that a lot of toy manufacturer got hurt and downsized their employees because of this loss of Toys R Us. Not only was Toys R Us, selling their products and they were making money, it was a way of merchandising their own things. And with the loss of Toys R Us, it affected that industry, that we can't even fathom.
No, it's
and
a
know
huge
what's
hit. It's a huge hit.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, Toys R Us, it's a big name. We all remember it from before, and and things happen. Over time, the world changes, and if you lose your business, I think that it's a great marketing plan. If you got a business and you want to get out there and push it somewhere, and you can find some place that wants to go ahead and give you, this ability to put Jeffrey. By the way, it's Jeffrey's Toy Box inside Kroger stores. To do that. Hey, more power for anyone to give something a try. If you need to break out of another business to do so, once again, Comicsgate guys, more power to you. I wish everyone, even Toys R Us, good success. But it all comes down to being appealing and having marketing value to get the sales.
Yeah,
this is an interesting marketing ploy, because Kroger stores aren't something that you think of on Black Friday, but they're announcing this first. It's early. We're into November. This is when people are paying attention to the places that they're going to be lining up outside of for Black Friday to get the great deals. And with Toys R Us dead, and your local Kroger grocery store having the Toys R Us aisle, I mean, now you're just waiting to pick up a carton of milk, a pack of eggs, and don't forget little Tommy's new Star Wars action figures.
You can fight over
Yeah,
You can find it for roast Tico and the last carton of eggnog.
right.
Exactly. No, Josh, I came back over to your page and refreshed to see how so we picked anything up. And just remember, guys, in the chat, if you are planning on getting TBIRD and Throttle, why don't you go ahead and do that now so we can see that happen live. That'll be cool. But since we're talking about Toys R Us and therefore we're talking about toys, have you thought about doing a toy line? Because your characters are perfect for it.
Well, I was going to say, I'm a huge toy collector, so that's of course always been a big dream of mine. But I have someone who works in the toy business, and so I kind of know the costs involved, and it's not something that's entirely feasible at the moment. But definitely down the line, I'd love to make that happen for sure.
Yeah, I think it would be cool.
Yeah.
They're perfect, man.
Josh,
Yeah.
you know who you should talk to about that? Maybe 3D modeling with Model 3. He has an Indiegogo campaign.
Yeah,
Maybe
we've
you
spoken.
should.
Oh, you have?
You've spoken?
Excellent. See,
Awesome.
Yeah.
that's a cool
Yeah.
thing about
Yeah.
this community, man. There's so many creatives around here, and there's everyone working together and helping each other out. It is very cool. It's exciting. But yeah, I would love to see toys of this, man, because I don't have any kids anymore to make an excuse to buy them for, but I might just buy them anyway. But Zack Snyder is trying very hard to be the ultra troll over here. Good, gambate. Good luck to you, man. Keep trying. Keep trying. I still think you're a little shy on it. A little shy. You need a little bit more effort, Zach. Come on now. You can do it. All right. We'll come. Let me refresh one more time here real quick.
So Rough Rebel 86 says he loves that idea about Joffrey box in Kroger's. He always shops at Fred Meyer's and he misses Toys R Us. So, and I believe that's marketed for you guys right there.
Yeah, no, Zach. Let me just interject really quick. You guys go ahead and have your fun in the chat. That's totally cool, man. Enjoy yourselves. But just make sure you keep the language down. We want this show to be available for everybody. Okay. But other than that, have at it. All right, we'll come back to that and look at it again. But I'm sorry, Denali, finish your thought before I move on to the next news item.
No.
Okay.
So I was just saying that for. Like Roth Hoff Rebel 86 said, that idea speaks to him. He, that's something that he would be interested in because he shops in Fred Meyer's and he misses Toys R Us. So, there are people who would appreciate having even a little bit of Toys R Us, somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, and there's a lot of people working on it. We'll keep looking at that. There's a few things we're keeping an eye on here because we do the comics news today show every day, and this is our little today segment going on right here. And we cover the news, and there's a few topics that we're keeping an eye on. One of those, of course, is Star Wars. Another one is Toys R Us, and of course, the other one is the wonderful and exciting and interesting Mark Waid versus Richard C. Meyer case. And we will keep you up to date on that. But the next story here, I think is probably going to finish out our show. Last news we'll talk about, but this one is very, very cool. Chuck Dixon's Levonecade to get TV adaptation from Sylvester Stallone. Now, come on now. Now that is exciting, I think. Anybody want to start that off?
Yeah, so Balboa Production, which is Sylvester Stallone company, has bought the options to adapt the Levon Cade novel series from Chuck Dixon. So that's pretty awesome right there.
It is. Yeah, which of course just brings us to the point of just talking about Chuck Dixon. But go ahead, guys. Interject here. Give us some opinions on Chuck Dixon and Sylvester Stallone working together. I mean, that's really exciting, man. Especially because Chuck has been true. So, I mean, just to give you guys who don't know, I'm sure you do, but Chuck Dixon has been so poorly treated by the comic book industry as of late. He's been, and for no good reason. And he's just a guy. He's of course, he created Bane and many other things. He's a great comic book guy, and he's a legend. I mean, it's Chuck Dixon, right? and those of us who know comic books, we love him. And it's unfortunate what's been happening to him. And of course, there's some other things with him just trying to get work and trying to make money, and just hooking up with companies that other people don't really feel very positive about. But yeah, man, Chuck Dixon. Come on, DeWolf, you must have an opinion on this.
What? Yeah, I gotta. My angles are always slightly different. Would he be able to do this several years ago?
I don't
Like,
know.
because he had a employer, right, several years ago, and he was working, basically in that employer, right?
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I see.
So due to the movement that has happened and the cultural dynamics, and then where Chuck had to move to because of that, now are we able to see this?
Mhm. Yeah.
I think that's I hate for through bad things, right? Heroes are born. So through different circumstances and things, we're seeing something that we want to see. We want to see this character come about that we may not have had the chance, given the things if they were just hunky dory and he was just working where he was at beforehand.
That is true. Him being forced out like that may have opened up bigger opportunities in the future. That's true. What do you think about this Tank? I haven't heard from you in a while.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm excited. Balboa Studios does good storytelling and good action, and so does Chuck Dixon. So, I mean, they could be producing a fairy tale, and it would come out just dynamic. So I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited to see what these two creative forces have for us.
You know what I first thought when I saw this picture between Chuck Dixon and Sylvester Stallone? I said, is Chuck Dixon actually going to write a expendable movie? Or secretly did he talk to Richard Myers to make a Jawbreaker movie? And that's got shivers.
Ooh,
Got shivers when I thought about that.
wow. Yeah, that's a good idea. I didn't think about that. What do you think? What do you think about this, Josh?
No, it's exciting. I'm glad to see that, despite all the, the controversy and stuff, that he's able to make something like this happen. And I love Sylvester Stallone. He's like one of my favorite movie stars of all time. So it's exciting.
It is exciting, yeah. Absolutely. How about you, Thundar? You got an opinion on this? No. Okay. But yeah, no, I'm really excited about it. Now, what I have a question, and excuse my ignorance, because I know Chuck stuff and I've read about a bunch of it, but this Levon Cade character didn't jump out to me, and I don't know why. Is this some name I don't know for Bane or something? It's not Bane's name, is it?
No, it's from his novel.
Oh, that's why I don't know. Okay.
Yes, so he does write novels on the side, not just comic book. And Cade, it's actually a former Marine who was a construction worker, and then through things, he's kind of like Jack Reacher, if you want to think about it, to the closest thing out there. And you guys can check it out and see how he writes, but it's a pretty good story right there. Like any Chuck Dixon's writing, you know what you're gonna get when you jump into his writing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've never read any of these books. I've only read the comic stuff, and that's why I don't know. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Got it. We're definitely keeping an eye on this going into the future. And Chuck is in the community. He's all over the place. Of course, he's attached with Ben Hennessy at Cautionary Comics, and they're working together. And Kelsey Shannon's involved as well, doing some great art to support his writing. So there is some cool things going on with Chuck Dixon just in this community, and we're certainly looking forward to seeing him expand because he's a really nice guy. If you ever listened to him or spoken to him, he's just a sweet guy, and he deserves everything he gets. So good
Can
luck
I
to him.
can I add something?
Please do.
Yeah, Chuck has been badly treated by his peers, also.
Okay.
which is really unheard of. You know, sometimes people are just quiet when they're not really aligned with what their peers say. But some of his peers have actually come out against him, which I find just despicable. But there's two different animals here. There's Twitter and Facebook, and Chuck is more. You know, he posts more on Facebook, and you should see the stuff that ends up happening. He might like this novel only came out like I don't know about in the last year that everyone's talking about, and you should see the despicable crap that's going on, you know, against him by people who are, you know, the Jamal Ingalls of the world and stuff like that. It's really crazy because at least on Twitter you can kind of you might post something and you can ignore the thread, but when you're getting notifications of oh somebody answered this or said this on your post, it's sort of a little different to me, you know. And I just think he's being treated really unfairly. He's all he's trying to do really is continue to do what he loves, continue to do what he's passionate about, and continue to bring you great stuff. He just really he aligns himself with the idea of yeah, I don't want to put these things in my books, so I'm going to align myself with this fan movement, and that's really all he's done. He's not aligning himself to a person or to this guy or to that guy. Just aligning to the ideology of Comicsgate that our books should be an adventure, should be fun. They should, you know, be about the heroes and the villains, and not be about this agenda or SJWs, you know, or the politics or current events. You know, we're creating fiction. You know, that's all we're trying to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And of course, you know, we're well aware of how he's been treated and continually being treated at the time as we speak. But yeah, no, this is
I
an
mean,
ongoing thing. It's what caused the community to come into existence, right? You
yeah.
know, we got people like Ethan Van Sciver being pushed out. Why? Because he voted for Trump. Who cares who he votes for? That's his choice. We have Mike Miller getting kicked out. Why? Because he's a Christian. What's wrong with that? You know, and et cetera, et cetera. Chuck Dixon's the same thing. That's why we're here. That's why we're together, and that's why we're supporting each other. It is a nasty bit of work that's going on over there, and you say they're pros, and I'd say they're not very professional at all. The way they interact with each other, because I'm not an artist, but I'm a musician, and I'll tell you this:
Right.
I worked as a pro for 10 years, and not we didn't. You know, I was like just a mid-level guy, but in that circuit that I worked in, there was certainly people we didn't like or didn't like us or me, and but we kept that to ourselves, right? We were professional at all times. You're not going to like everybody, and that's the way it is. You don't have to agree, but we kept it professional. So I don't know what kind of nonsense is going on here with these people. They call themselves pros. They're working, getting paid by Marvel, DC, Image, IDW, all those other things, and it's just it's insane. It's bad business practice. It's unprofessional, and they should be ashamed of themselves. And I don't
And
know how long this can go on and see the comic book industry not absolutely implode.
and the sad thing about it is that they allow, you know, their fans to become a mob and send in threat messages and threat notices to them where they had to cancel their appearance from a recent Comic-Con because of those threatening messages. I believe Ben Hennessy had to call the FBI to follow up on that, and people reached out to his family about it. So I can only imagine if this was Ben Hennessy, how much Chuck Dixon's been getting this as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and
We
it's
just
kind of
said
hard because
we just had Tug docs the other day. I mean, what are you doing
right.
going to his work? You don't, I mean, oh my goodness. Don't even get me started. I don't want to go on a rant on it, but it's why we're here. We all know this. We're preaching to the choir. But it's, yeah, moving on. All right, but let's see here. We have time for one more quick one. I don't think so.
You know, that idea that we're preaching to the choir, though, this is interesting because this is what FanSpeak is what is all about from the beginning. We said that we are the choir now, you know, and so of course we're also the choir that has the money. And we're putting the money out there. So
Sure.
that's the important part. That's the important part. because we are upset with this. We see what's going on. We're making choices. You know, we've pulled away from Marvel and DC, and as much as we like to go and talk to Comicsgate and particular creators, if there's a good writer, if there's a good artist is out there, he's at Marvel or he's DC, you know, we'll talk to you, we'll talk to anybody, because we just want to, you know, keep connecting and speaking with these creators and getting our viewpoint out to you guys, you know, to help you, to critique you, and to keep the whole thing moving and going, because we're the choir and we're also speaking or singing in the choir sense. And, you know, that's important. We're not just some other creators. We're not some other stuff going on here, and we don't like it. And if we don't like it, it's going to end up showing.
Yep. No, exactly.
Hey guys.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, real quick. I'm on my phone, so I'm about out of juice. So I just want to let you know in case I vanish off. That's what happened. So.
Oh, no problem. We're about to wrap up anyway.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Now, normally at this point, I would just drop us back over to Hangouts and just have us chat at the end to the end of the show. But I'm going to go ahead and leave this Indiegogo here of TBIRD and Throttle from Josh Howard up on the screen. And keep in mind, guys, if you are planning on backing this, why don't you do it during the show? I think it'd be really cool to see it rise up. And thank you for everyone joining us today that has gone and backed it. That's really cool. And we're going to do our best to keep promoting this, and hopefully we can get Josh on some of the bigger channels that can help him even more. We'll see what we can do. Can't make any promises, but we're going to try. We really like this book over here. We think it's, as Tank had said, it is horribly underrepresented right now in the community. And it's interesting too. It's about, we keep talking about marketing. We keep talking about how to build a community, how to get things out there, how to get yourself seen to have a more successful Indiegogo. You know, we certainly want to build on the structure that we can, you know, do more. And of course, I came to this Indiegogo page through Indicron. That link is down below. And Indicron, Pixel Traders Indicron, of course, is a sponsor of this show. Thank you very much, sir. And he's helping me unboomer myself. So, you know, that's very important work. But go over and use Indicron. We think that's a good location, not only for the fans who are the consumers, but also for the pros. It's a great place to try to get that, move that away from all this heavy responsibility on Ethan and Mike and these other guys, and move it into more of a more commercial way of doing things, right? But with that said, let me go over and just have our chat talk about any last comments they want to have today, and then we'll end up with Josh. So, DeWolf, why don't you go ahead and talk to us a little bit and give us your final comments, please.
Yeah, guys, just stay engaged, stay positive, and keep everything moving and flowing. You know, this is not just a community. Sometimes it's a commitment, right? You get involved as a backer, not just the creators as well. And when you become a backer, you become part of a bigger growing thing. And as we pass this out to other folks too, you know, we engage with them and we say, hey, come join us. There's a lot of folks that if they do see, you know, kind of what's going on, they might decide, hey, I don't know if I want to participate in, you know, the battles, the SJW stuff, you know, all that can be detracting from what we're doing here. And so be sure to be mindful of those things, because we like to keep things on the normal side. Yeah, Ignition says kill them with kindness. Really, that's what we like to do. And then because great artwork and great stories is exciting, so just stay excited with that. Go ahead and let them go away, and keep what we have, either a reconstruction movement, a revival movement, you know, going, so that all comic books and all fans can become better through this.
Yes.
Thank
you. No, thank you very much, man. And before I move on to the next person, just keep in mind that Gary Shipman's sketchbook, which is a great marketing idea, his Indiegogo project, is still going on. It's got a couple days left on it, so definitely go check that out and support Gary. And I think Denali either has or will be putting up a link to that. All right, let's go down the line here. And Thundaro, sir, please give us your final comments for today.
All right, my final comments are going to be very similar to what they usually are. If you have any trouble in this community at all, in any of the chats or anywhere at all with anybody, of any circumstance, please do not be afraid to mention it to me. Please do not be afraid to mention it to any of us. We will do what we can to help. We do not want to see anybody feel like they aren't welcome here for things that they have not done, things that not of their own doing. We are in this together, and we all have the same goal. We want to make great comic books. We want to help fund great comic books, and we want to just get away from the nastiness and the vileness that has become the comic book industry. Because I've said it before, and I'll say it forever, the comic book industry is the single most important cultural institution in the United States of America and around the world in a lot of ways. Our entire culture is inundated with comic book characters. It will be forever. These are our modern myths, and we must at least try to save them from being destroyed by people who do not care about any of that stuff and only want to push an agenda. That's it.
Wow, bravo, man. Well spoken. I love it. All
Oh,
right.
yes, yes.
Excellent, dude. All right. Hey, Tank, you got any last comments today or any things you want to pitch or sell in or Twitters or whatever like that?
Well, I love this. People, you guys gotta push this TBIRD and Throttle. It's underrated, underexposed. So let's get it out there.
All right. Excellent. Now we had Todd come on and join us. And Todd, we're definitely going to have you come back in later and at other times to talk about your art in specifically, which is stunningly beautiful. If any of you guys haven't seen it, go over to his website to check it out. This guy is the real deal. There's no joke, right? And we're going to have you on to talk about you in particular, especially because I know you were thinking about doing some projects and stuff, and we're going to do that. But Todd, why don't you go ahead and give your last words for today, and push anything you're working on.
Yeah, I appreciate the kind words. By the way, Josh's project looks great. I love the style, and then he kept the same style, sort of with the coloring, sort of a cell shaded style, almost like the same as animation, or exactly like animation, right? But as far as, let me speak a little bit about the community. There's some things going on behind the scenes that may make it possible for us to succeed even further beyond this. So the better we act, and we act accordingly, and we bring it right, if you're out there fighting the good fight, do it always with kindness and grace, because we don't want to give anybody ammunition for anything.
Sweet. Thank you. Well said. Now, Josh, thank you very much for joining us, man. We try to get as many of the creators we can on here to talk to them and interact with them, and especially when they have an Indiegogo going on. So I really appreciate you coming over here. This one's a little special for me because I love this thing. I think this is amazing, and I agree with Tank 100%. This needs to be seen by more eyes. But please give us any of your last comments or anything you want to say, man. Go ahead.
Just thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome, and thank you to everyone who pledged during the show. I'm so grateful for it. I just keep it coming, and let's looking forward to getting this thing funded so I can get started. Again, it's been fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, no, and thank you for coming. And of course, guys, keep in mind that we do a show here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day. We have our comics news today for our daily show. Of course, we also have our Bugbear's Basement, which is on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this week we are talking about Thunderbolts, which is DeWolf's choice. And that's really good. So go read up on your Thunderbolts and be ready to be in the chats and give us some opinions and ideas and concepts. But the Thunderbolts is a really good
Thunderbolts,
run.
you say?
Thunderbolts, I say, yes. Would the Thunderbolt God like to come and join us for that?
It could happen.
It could happen. Hey, it could happen. I'm all a tingle. But that was an electricity joke, by the way, just so you know. But anyway,
Oh boy.
oh boy. But of course, we also do our FanSpeak here, and we'll have it next week as well. We're always trying to get good guests. And once again, We just appreciate you guys coming here and joining us and subbing to us and all this great chat that goes over here. It's just amazing, this community. The last little thing I would say that we had a little bit of a kerfuffle this with the drawn and quartered this week because of Halloween and stuff like that. So we're doing kind of a catch up drawn and quartered fan edition on Monday, which will be on this channel. And so definitely come check us out. Now that thing usually moves around, and that's a 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time thing. So definitely come over and join us for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, on Thursday, we will have the standard Drawn and Quartered Fan Edition, which will be on Manny's channel at Good Dog Press. Good Dog Press. And if Denali, you could throw up Manny's channel real quick there for him, or actually let Pixel do that because you're about to speak. But yeah, definitely. And check out all those things. And once again, thank you very much. I can't tell you how happy we are and how much we appreciate the growth this channel's had in 2 months. It's quite amazing. So, Denali, please go ahead and finish out the show, man.
Thank you. So, everybody, thank you for joining us. We do appreciate you spending the time with us. We always enjoy these moments with you. Hope you continue sharing this out and sharing the good word. This is FanSpeak. And as always, your perception shapes your reality. So always make it a good one.
All right, guys. Later.